Now, if there's one thing that I have a guarantee on, it's that the Blue Jays have a better chance at making it to the World Series than the Brampton real estate market has at rebounding in the next 12 months. In today's video, we are going to go over the Brampton statistics for the month of September. There's a lot of down arrows once again, and it's not the most shocking thing, but I know there was a lot of hope that September would be better than what we've seen in previous months, because September generally is the beginning of that fall market where people get excited to put their home back on the market once their kids are back at school. But it doesn't look like we have gotten that just yet. So we're going to start off here with the detached properties. And as you can see on screen, there's a lot of down arrows, and if you're looking at the year to date, we are just slipping further and further away from the prior year's numbers here. The average sale price for a home and the median sale price from a home are down both 7.2 and 6.1% respectively. If you were to buy a detached home last year, it would have been just under 1.2. This year, it's 1.1. So your detached home has lost $100,000 on average. And if you're looking at medians, it's lost just a little bit more than that. So it is definitely discouraging. And when I'm talking to people who are out there who are thinking of moving, the biggest conversation that we have is, when did you buy? How much equity do you have in the property? And why are you actually moving? Especially if you have a detached home. There's really no need to have 4,000, 5,000 square feet unless you absolutely need it. So if you don't need to upgrade your home and you don't have as much equity as you hoped in your home, it might be a good time for you just to put that money into something else and settle in the home you live in. The reminder, I'm going to give it to you guys. Your home shouldn't be treated as an investment. Although people buy second homes as the investment, it should be treated as a roof over your head, something where you can build your memories, enjoy the home, and pay it down. Accelerate your payments, do accelerated bi-weekly, do the lump sum payments, pay as little interest as possible. That's how you capitalize on owning a property in Canada. If you don't do those things and you pay the monthly, you don't do any of the accelerated options, you don't put the lump sums, then you're paying way more interest than you can even imagine. You're going to be paying more interest than you will for the actual property. Take that into consideration if you are not treating your home the way you should in terms of expediting some of the interest that is going to just be thrown on top of your shoulders as life moves forward here. And as you can see, the transaction volume has just continued to slip as well. We're down 14% at this point. 1,800 transactions up to this point, and last year we were at 2,100 transactions. So we are seeing that the buyer sentiment is not expediting at all. This past month was another drop of 2.1%, but all in all, the buyers, they're not jumping out here for the detached homes. Some might say 6.1% isn't a massive loss. If you're going to live there forever, you're going to go through the ebbs and flows of the market, but detached homes, they've taken a hit. And as you can see, only 1% of homes are selling at list price. So if you're going to sell your home, understand, if you sell at list price, you are the 1%. That means it is extremely important to price your home properly more than anything else. And with the 20% increase here in listings that have hit the market, it's more important than ever to price it properly, to be that 1%. Otherwise, you're going to be on the market for months and months and months, and nobody really wants to live with your home on the market. It's not the most exciting thing. Let me tell you that in advance. So we can see detached homes, they're not the most exciting. There's not a lot of positives to talk about. Let's see if we can find some positives on the semi-detached side of things here. And, well, this past month was a lot worse on the semi-detached side of things. The price came down month over month to $811 from $860 in August. Not good, because we thought August was going to be slower than September. So that's a rough sign. Transaction volume did go up. So we had more people who were actually transacting on semis, and the average price was lower. So something to take into consideration there. The average list price was around $860, and obviously those median and average sale prices are hovering closer to $8. So a little bit of a buffer, maybe $60K or so, that you might be able to negotiate off of some of these semis. And look at these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just down arrow after down arrow. Once again, same as the detached. You're talking 6.7 and 6.5% losses. on the year, 18% increase in transaction volume or decrease in transaction volume. So buyer sentiment still bad. And then 22.3% in active listings that have been brought onto the market. So big picture, if you had a semi last year, could have been worth anywhere between 925, 931, and now it is in the 860s range. So prices on the semis coming down into the 860s, and they're going to get more affordable as we check the other categories. So the townhouse category here, you're going to notice we're slipping under 800 on the past month that just happened here at 792. We're actually at 817 when we're talking year to date. Last year was 880, so we've slipped 7.1%, 4.2% less transactions. So there's not as much of a discrepancy here in transactions that are happening over the past couple of years. That's pretty close. So transactions on townhouses, they are more active because there's first-time home buyers, there's move-up buyers from a condo who want to get into that freehold sector. And the thing to consider here is there are still 29% of these selling above asking. So people are utilizing the bidding war strategy here. Less than last year. Last year was 45%. So there's a lot of that happening last year. This year we've slipped off 15% from there, but something to consider if you are looking for a freehold townhouse. You could have snagged one last month for around $800,000, but we are going to get into the next two categories, the condos and then the condo townhouses, and show you what's more affordable. So if you're a first-time home buyer, these two categories are for you specifically. There's not a lot of move up that happens from a condo to a condo townhouse. It happens, but not as frequently. Somebody usually tries to get out of a condo product into a freehold product. So the condo townhouse category in September, you could have snagged one for 609 last month. On the year, we're at 633. So there's a big jump from the low 8s all the way down to 630s. This is why it becomes a much more dominating category for the first-time home buyers. We've seen a listings volume come up. We've seen 13% increase on listing volume, so not as many as the other categories, probably because the gap between condo townhouse and freehold product is too large right now for people to say, oh, I want to sell my condo and move up into the next category. It's still a big gap of 150K. It's a lot to overcome here if you have no equity. Transaction volume still dropped almost 20% from last year. So even the first-time home buyers are not jumping at things. And I don't blame them. In some categories, it doesn't make as much sense, but there are some who are capitalizing. And year over year, these have dropped almost 10%. So you could have snagged something for 7. Now you're closer to 633. And let's look, Brampton is getting more and more condos. We've seen condos just get, unfortunately, annihilated in the last little while. And this past month, you could have snagged one at 470, 480 on the year, and then last year, 540. So they've dropped 11%. That's condos on average. We'll do the 1 and the 2 bedrooms to follow up here as usual. And then if you're looking here, you can see the median price is a little bit of a bigger hit. So 12.5%. Transaction volume, once again, almost 20% less transactions. First-time home buyers this year are just not having it, and investors are not having the condos as their main squeeze anymore. They are just trying to get out of the market more than anything else. And then pretty close to that 20% increase in inventory, which has been consistent across the board. So 20% in all categories. People are trying to sell things, but they're not. Obviously, we're lower in transactions year over year and more inventory hitting the market. It means more choice, more patience from some of these buyers. So we'll break that down into 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms for you on the condo side of things. So a 1 bedroom condo, this is your entry level to get into the market. I would not buy a bachelor if I was you. You can do what you want, but that's my recommendation. Don't buy a bachelor. They're hard to resell. The prices are low, but they're not attractive enough for me to pull the trigger on them personally. This year, you could snag one for 402. This past month on a couple deals, you could have snagged one for mid-3s. So there were some good deals out there if you're looking for 1 bedroom condo. And if you have 20% down, this is where things might start to make sense to buy instead of rent. You have to crunch all the numbers. You have to look at what that looks like. I'll have a mortgage calculator for you in the description box down below. I'll pop it up on screen here. But this is where the pricing versus the rent starts to make sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense in the other categories if you're deciding to rent or to buy, unless your down payment is significantly large, or unless you've got the heartstrings pulling at your purchase. If it's for a family, for some security, then I completely understand why you would want to make a move. Transactions, you had one less transaction this year compared to last year, so we're on par. Inventory, we have 40 more units that have come to market than last year. So very, very close to what we've dealt with over the last year on the 1-bedroom side. And we'll finish the Brampton category up here with the 2 bedrooms. You're going to notice from $339 last month to $479, and then from around $411 to $488. So it's going to cost you another 70 or 80 grand to get that 2nd bedroom. But from this to the condo townhouse at $611, still pretty big difference in price, right? You got $120 or so thousand between the two. Inventory is spiked up, I'm sure 20%, typical across the board. It's very consistent in and around that 16 to 20%. And then you've seen another 20% drop. So with the 20% drop in inventory or drop in transactions and increase in inventory, it's like a 40-point swing. It becomes very challenging to a lot of these sellers right now. And before I leave you on this, what I do want to do is pull up some more data for you that's going to give you a little bit more perspective on what's going on. And I will just grab Brampton here and we'll continue that. If you're looking for some of the other data, know that I am going to do several market updates. We do a Halton that covers Milton, Oakville, Burlington, and some of Georgetown as well. And then we also have a Mississauga update, and then we have a general GTA update. So you're going to get a lot of different market updates depending on what market it is that you are looking to actually pay attention to. Look out for that in the title or the thumbnail on YouTube. Okay, so next thing we want to show you is the inventory that's out there. So we'll look at all different property types here. I don't want to get too into the weeds for you on this one, but we are going to look at all active listings that are currently out there. So we have 2,336 active Brampton listings. This is active. The average list price right now is just over $1 million at $1,081,000. The average days on market for these 2,300 is 43 days on market. So these are sitting there for quite some time. And on the left-hand side of the screen here, what you can see is this area is, in fact, going to show you the different types of housing and where they're generally priced at. So you can see a lot of this yellow or orange, excuse my color blindness, is detached homes. And you can see the majority of them start north of $800,000. You're going to get a couple in that $600,000 and $700,000 price point. You're going to notice a lot of the condos are sub $600K, and then you're going to notice that there's a blend here up to $900,000 between the semis, the detached, the condo townhouse, and the freehold townhouses here. So this is kind of what that inventory flow looks like right now. Obviously, the majority of the inventory, 402 units of inventory, are priced between $800,000 and $900,000. But not too far behind is the $1 million to 1.2. That's a lot of detached homes. And then you also do get a lot between $700,000 and $800,000 at 267 units, right? And that's going to be a really good split. You've got freehold townhouses, you've got some condo townhouses, you've got a couple little condos here, and then you do have your detached and semi-detached homes. So there's a good split of what is available on the market. And if we are gonna look at some of the leading indicators over the last couple of years here, because we are looking at it based on a 2-year spread, the active listings, they have gone, taken this roller coaster ride, but they are up, 2491 as of the end of the month. This is as of today. Months of inventory has skyrocketed, 6.17. That means that if you're a buyer, there's more to choose from. Sellers, you have less to bicker about back and forth with price. If you want to sell your home and you're on the market, you're not likely going to cover your expenses over the last couple of years. So if you bought in the last couple of years and you have to sell, you need to know that you're not going to get the price that you paid for the home, regardless of what you've done. Even if you did renovations, it's unlikely, extremely unlikely, that you're going to recoup a lot of those costs. Now, I have another video that we just made here about sellers being stuck and why they're stuck, why they can't sell their homes right now. And the gist of that video, but you can go watch it if you want, is that sellers are choosing to be a little bit stringent on their prices, and they are not focusing on what market value is. They're focusing on, I need to sell my house for $1 million because I have to pay off this, I have to pay off this, I want to move into this. So they're adding all the different expenses to what they think they need to sell their home for. It's not how it works. You sell your home for what the buyer is willing to pay. If you go to the store and the bananas are 15 bucks, you're not going to buy them. If they're 14 bucks, you're not going to buy them. You have to have a meeting of price and demand. And if you don't have that, your home doesn't sell. Straightforward as that. I hope this Brampton update gave you a little bit more insight than we generally do. If there's something specific that you're looking for, if there's another neighborhood that you're living in, I can break this down to specific areas. I'd be happy to send you a personalized video if that's something you're interested in. Thanks so much for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.